For more on whatever that was, CBS Sports combat analyst Brian Campbell joins us now. BC, you know I'll take any excuse to jump on HQ, chop it up with my guy, but this whole thing just felt a little bit odd. The build-up, the actual fight, a former heavyweight champ presumably fresh off the couch and into the ring. Who was this event for specifically?
Nostalgic / crossover circus fans. Look, we're in this boom right now in boxing with the Paul brothers where there's a lot of shenanigans going on, but it just proves that people do like boxing when you make interesting matchups. The problem with leaning too heavy into old guy fights and boxing matches involving boxers who aren't really boxers is you can get bad entertainment and you can get some very unhappy endings in terms of health and physical. We're lucky on this night that 58-year-old Evander Holyfield, 10 years removed from his last fight, wrapping up, oh, by the way, a 27-year pro career, which he accrued heavy amounts of damage as one of boxing great warriors. We're lucky he's able to walk out of the ring on his own power. This was a odd fight on paper. It was in some ways a mismatch considering 44-year-old Vitor Belfort, although not the pro boxing experience even close, is only 3 years removed from the elite levels of UFC and MMA, an accomplished puncher, also somebody with a history of performance-enhancing drug use, decorated history. So when you look at the specifics of this fight, it being moved from California to Florida on 6 days' notice because the California State Athletic Commission wouldn't license Holyfield. There is so much not to like about this fight even taking place. And I didn't even bring up the fact that Holyfield was set to sue Triller for not coming through on the fights that he originally signed for. This was a bizarre circus to begin with. And while I think a lot of us, Joe, if we're being honest, like a little bit of a circus, we like a little bit of that gas station food on the road when we're off our diet a bit. You get too much of this, it's too much of a bad thing. This could have been a disaster. This definitely felt like the bottom of the combat sports food chain.
I will raise my hand. I'm not above a taquito from time to time, but a couple too many taquitos and going to get the best of you. When we take a look at what this fight, was scheduled to be in terms of Vitor Belfort, Oscar De La Hoya, we spoke off camera a little bit here about that fight and what that might have looked like and how that might have gone differently here. When a governing body is sanctioning a fight, and you mentioned they can't get the passes in California, so they move it to Florida. What are some of the criteria that those governing bodies are looking for, and how did this specific fight pass those criteria?
That's the great question right there. How did it pass it? Because Florida is known as a lax commission. In general, a lax state when it comes to combat sports. If we remember, in the beginning of the pandemic when UFC was looking for any state that would house them at a time where we really didn't know, and publicly we critiqued Dana White and company for maybe getting out there a little bit too early, Florida was the state that took the chance and opened the doors. That's why the fight was moved there. But unlike, let's say, Mike Tyson's comeback in late 2020 when he outboxed Roy Jones Jr., this wasn't the type of exhibition that has the larger gloves and has the real keen eye on the idea of no judging and just saying, look, it's an exhibition. Let's go out there and have fun, nostalgia, look at your old heroes again. This was staged as a real fight, more or less. And when you consider all the things I mentioned of the possible lawsuit and the last-minute change, it's hard to say this is awful for the sport of boxing when, as the late great Bert Sugar used to say, boxing is the red light district of sports. You can only put so much lipstick on this pig. We celebrate Mike Tyson biting an ear or the fan man dropping in the ring. Boxing's known for this, but this was a wild night at the fights in which there were so many seemingly egregious sins happening at once that it's hard not to come out of this with a real bad taste in your mouth. Yes, we're in this, like I mentioned, celebrity crossover era. It's a balloon. We know it's going to burst soon. Right now, you can still draw eyes to this stuff. But the fact that this fight even happened under the circumstances that it did was shameful. We really can't stress that enough. Shameful that this fight even went down.
Yeah, I don't know if that bubble has popped just yet because of those eyes that are interested, but I fear we may have jumped the shark here on the whole Franken fight genre. I'm not going to pose to you some existential question about the sport of boxing right now and what this did for that, but specifically in this space, fighters trying their hands at different disciplines, matchmakers thinking outside of the box. How big of a setback was tonight?
it's hard to say. If you tuned into this fight card and you wanted the circus and you wanted Donald Trump and Don Jr. on commentary, then you got what you asked for. I think, some people maybe don't care about the health concerns to that degree. But one thing I've said throughout this bubble of this celebrity era, with the Paul brothers being front and center and Showtime pay-per-view getting into it as well, is as long as the fights are exciting, people are going to still watch it. I think you have to avoid, though, bringing in people that just should not be in the ring. You want to bring over a crossover entertainer, a retired athlete. As long as they still got a little bit left in there and can protect themselves, you can make fun fights if they deliver. I think that co-main event with Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz did that. That's one of the positive developments in this genre, where you kind of got the answers to the questions you had right away, and it was exciting. But to see this, it feels like another step back. But to be honest, so did Floyd Mayweather against Logan Paul just a few months ago, when that looked a lot more like an exhibition and not a real fight. People will only pay for this stuff so much. We saw a celebrity boxing boom 20 years ago with Screech from Saved by the Bell and Willis from Different Strokes, and that went away just as soon as it came.
I'm always here for what Brian Campbell is talking about. The King of Swing weighing in here on HQ. Thank you, my man. And don't forget, there's only one place to get involved with the conversation. It's with the Morning Combat. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell take you through a daily conversation, all things swing. If there is a bell, if there is a card, these guys cover it all, including what we saw here on Saturday night. They'll break it down coming up on the Morning Combat. Download, subscribe, and enjoy.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.